We are going to commence with a Q&A, but I did just want to take a moment right now to acknowledge Lacey and Michelle, who were the filmmakers and the people that conceived the last work, who were both tragically killed in a fatal car accident on February 10th of this year. It was a huge blow to the Indigenous arts community and the prairie art scene. Also tragically killed in that accident was Michael Green and Narcisse Blood, two other artists. It's a big loss to our community, and we're all still mourning them, so I'd like to dedicate this screening to their memory, and thank you for that. So we'll move on now to the Q&A. So I believe that there are several filmmakers in the audience, so if everyone that has a film in the program that is here could come up on stage, join me. How about a round of applause? So because there are many of us, I think the best thing to do would maybe go down the line and just quickly introduce yourself and let the audience know which film is yours, and then we can open it up for questions.
Hi, my name's Jenny. I made the one with the jellyfish called Bunurong.
Klingana Loma. I'm Vanessa, and I made Testing with the porcupine quills.
Black Horslow, I collaborated with Chacon on Report for Firearm Ensemble.
Michael Rogic Kashane. I made For When Dying Is a Gift, Act Chapter 27 Films, and Trinity Square Video.
My name's Michelle Latimer, and I made Nimikaj, or She Dances for People, which is the black and white film with the women's faces with the Inuit throat singing, the Tanya Tekek track.
Hi, I'm Nathan, and I made the Mi'kmaq film.
Hi, I'm Trudy Stewart, and I'm the producer and editor of the last film, Dancing the Spaces Between.
I'm Janie. I made A Celebration of Darkness, the film with crystals.
Okay, so just right off the bat, are there any questions from the audience? Anybody yet? No? Okay, so maybe what we can do to start off while the audience warms up to come up with their questions is I can just ask everyone to just sort of briefly speak about, because some of the works are conceptual in nature, so it's always cool to hear from the filmmakers, the media artists themselves about what brought you to the work, what the concept behind it is. So maybe we could just go in order, or if somebody, do you want to go in order? Okay.
So I was invited to work with a scientist. It's an art science project, and they gave us a hard drive with a lot of folders from different marine parks in Australia. So I wanted to choose a marine park that had an Aboriginal name, so that left me with one folder. And this work, it spoke to me because I live at the Great Barrier Reef. So when it comes to marine parks, I'm pretty fussy because it's a World Heritage Site, and the Great Barrier Reef is dying anyway, so it's probably about time that we started appreciating other national parks in Australia as well.
When making my work, I was thinking about how we define ourselves as Indigenous people and how governments define ourselves, and the idea of percentages of blood and just the limits of our body and where those boundaries get drawn or don't.
Raven Chacon commissioned me to do this. I guess it was a fire parts ensemble, just all gunfire, which was this composition he had wrote, I believe, back in 2001. I might be mistaken on that. He knows more about it, but he wanted me to just go out and shoot him and all these different musicians performing this one piece. At one point, it was all worked out on drums and different pieces. But then looking for location, working with 5 live rounds, so then we spent probably a good afternoon shooting that. But I'm not exactly sure what was his intention of it. He just wanted, like, it sounded cool, looked cool, and there was a little bit of danger involved.
Right on.
Yeah, for When Dying is a Gift, it was a 2.5-year journey, and the way it started out was there was few friends that I hung around with, and we just started shooting with the iPad, and then it led to building characters and people dropping out from casting, and I actually didn't know what the hell I was doing in the beginning. I had no clue what I was doing. We just started filming around. I had this idea that I wanted to make a crazy crime drama, and the more we got into it, I started searching for editing people to help me assist with it, and then I kind of kept the dream alive with being here last year with my grandmother's film, and I needed to get on that professional level of being a filmmaker, and so I told a story about the film that never got made. But yeah, it took 2.5 years, and it was really difficult with finding the right people to work with, and actually asking for that assistance, and learning the educational part is what I'm doing right now at Humber College. And yeah, for When Dying is a Gift, that opening sequence there with Dylan, it was meant to be a 95-minute film, and with Dylan, his character, he worked at an art gallery, and his mother needed some kind of surgery, and they didn't have any money to pay for the surgery, so he went back to his old lifestyle to borrow some money from old friends, but the old friends didn't really care too much for him, so because he had this life of, you know, working at an art gallery. So with that comes jealousy. With that comes hiding it from a relationship with a girlfriend or a partner, or keeping distance from family. And the sad part about that sequence is you only get to see a little bit of that. And other than that, it's something that I hope to complete in the future and in a whole different sense. And yeah, thank you.
So Nimikaj was actually commissioned by the National Film Board of Canada for the Aboriginal Pavilion at the Pan Am Games. And I was asked to look at the archival material at the National Film Board dating back to the 1930s, 1940s. And I think what really affected me when I watched it, and just thinking about the irony of, like, I feel like our people are always paraded out for these like national events, the Olympics or the Pan Am Games, and I just think that that's so convenient, and it's sort of this parody because we live in a place where, you know, a lot of our reserves don't even have fresh water, and we've got missing and murdered women, and you know, 34% of the female inmates are Indigenous women. And so it's just like these kinds of things that just were like making me really angry as I watched this footage of these women being sort of like anthropologically looked at through this colonial lens. So I just thought I want to do a tribute to the missing and murdered women, and the idea that when you objectify something, that it changes the relationship to it, and it's easy to commit violence on something we don't see as human. And so at the end, when the women are looking down the barrel of the camera, it sort of, for me, was a reclamation of we exist, and you have to look at us, and we're here. And so that's where it came from, and the sort of cycle of how I conceived it.
My film just started out with the idea first. I just saw this snaky road, because the road was new, and it was really bumpy the first time we went with my mom's little tiny red car, and it was like, it took twice as long to get out there, and I just saw the two images of the road going like this, and then I had a new video camera, which is like a mini DV thing I bought on eBay for like $100 or something, and I was like excited to use it, so yeah.
I'm a producer of a project called the RISE Media Project, and RISE is an acronym for the Regina Indian Industrial School. We did a documentary on the history of the school that the whole city of Regina seemed to forget. And we held a youth documentary workshop where we invited emerging Indigenous artists, well, and others to take part, and we let them know the history and everything, and then invited them to submit ideas to honor the site and the school. The school isn't there anymore and hasn't been there since 1948, but there's an unmarked cemetery on Pinkey Road that's just outside of Regina that everybody forgot, and that we were trying to bring awareness because the area is being developed, and so we're trying to protect it. And what Lacey wanted to do was to honor those children by dancing on the land. So actually where it all took place was just behind the cemetery. At the end there you see a little white fence, and that's where it is. So she and Michelle worked very closely, and it was a very deeply spiritual and personal thing for her. And they went into ceremony, and before they started choreography. And yeah, it's hard because we screened the fine cut just 2 days before the accident. So that's where her idea came from.
Celebration of Darkness was like, came out of a writing exercise at the Film Mentor program. So we were writing about things that we loved and the beauty, and it became a piece about crystals and the healing that I've gotten through crystals. And then the piece just kind of had a life of its own and became kind of a self-portrait and like an experiment with trauma and trying to reframe from a place of pain to a place of power. And just looking at what is beautiful and broken about trauma and the strength I've gathered over the years with trauma. So that was really what I was trying to express.
So we are out of time, but I'm really glad that everybody got a chance to speak about their work, and lots of beautiful, empowering, healing stuff in this program. So thank you very much for coming out. And just a last reminder that the ballots on the way in had a couple of films missing from them, so please do grab a new ballot on the way out, and then do it, and then put it in the ballot box. So thank you very much for coming out. Thank you.